Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today I have for you an update, a life update and a channel update, and it has been a bereft December of Alexandria videos, and that is because of several reasons. If you were not aware, I was in a wretched car accident. And that sounds like I did something wrong or like I was driving poorly or whatever. No. I was hit by an insane person and I wasn't even driving. I was a passenger. My friend and I were just trying to go to our other friend's rehearsal dinner because we were in his wedding. And an insane person T-boned us at 80 miles an hour and flipped the car. And so I have been in the hospital and then in physical rehab. And during that time, my wife and I were also in the middle of closing on a house. It has been my wife's dream to have a house for, forever. And so we finally found one that we could afford and that was in the neighborhood we wanted and that, wasn't too far away from either of our works. And so we're in the process of doing that as well. I am in a wheelchair currently, if you're not aware. So this is a new setup. This is my new office. Here's my wheelchair. I'm wheeling around, right? So if anything looks weird, still trying to get it's hard to set things up on my own because I can't stand. And so lighting and stuff, if anything's weird, it will be fixed eventually once I can actually tweak things by standing and moving stuff, etc., etc. This is my new office, though. Additionally, if I seem out of breath at some point, it's because it is hard to project. I have broken ribs, broken pelvis, bruised lung or whatever. And, I can't put weight on one of my feet, which is why I can't walk as my femur heals or whatever. But this is the first video back, and I'm hoping it's not freaking terrible. But so we'll see. So that is basically the life update as I try to acclimate to not being independent. I can do I can do most things on my own. It just takes freaking forever. But I cannot stand, and that bars me from moving any furniture, or really doing anything. When I go back to work after Christmas break, I will still, unfortunately, have this stupid wheelchair. So I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. But, I guess I'm going to deal with it. So without wasting any more time,
let's get down to business.
Let's talk about my plans for the channel in 2023. So everyone does these videos, and you know what? I'm doing one too, so, deal with it, I guess. So basically, I'm going to try, this has been a tough year. I got really busy with school and a lot of stuff. I had a really, really good group of seniors this year, or juniors last year, seniors now. And so I got really, really, really involved with school. Channel stuff kind of fell by the wayside. So this has been, in the 2.5 years I've been on BookTube, this has been the kind of the least that I have that I've posted or updated and put videos out, but I hope to improve that this next year. I'm going to slowly work my way back to my 3 videos a week, I hope. Jeopardy will continue. Jeopardy Season 2, as you know, has begun. Michael Knipp won the first episode of Season 2, and then Ben from Genghis Khan toppled Kyle and the mighty Dr. Philip Chase in Episode 2. I have not yet had Episode 3, but it will be hopefully in January with Theo from Rekindled Reader, RJ from RJ Gibson, and Alex from Tall Guy Reads. And, we'll see how that works out. And then whoever wins that will be playing against Michael and Ben in the first Tournament of Champions. So Jeopardy's not going anywhere. In addition, coming back will be the Better Know a Booktuber series, which is, this is not my jumping on the, it seems like everyone has long form content these days where you just talk to, other content creators, and that's cool. Like having these long conversations, they're always really cool to watch. As you know, I'm always on freaking Chatting with Nuts, etc., etc. This is not really that. It's really just a bit that I do. If you watched the Colbert Report back in its heyday, Stephen Colbert always used to do a segment called Better Know a District, where he would fake interview representatives from congressional districts. And he would always, ask really loaded questions and stuff. And so that's really more of what it is. It's not really me talking to my friends about, life and stuff. It's more asking people why they have a channel, how they decide what to put on their channel, their editing process, their filming process. Because, I see people talk on sprints and in other conversations all the time. but I want to know like how people make their videos and like the inner workings of people's channels. And so that's generally what that is. And then with a segment at the end that my patrons always submit questions to that are meant to make them uncomfortable. I am bound to find one of their several of their videos and splice together some dialogue that says something they don't want it to say, usually liking or disliking some book that they don't actually like or dislike, whatever. So I'm probably going to bring that back. The next guest will be Sarah Reads on Better Know a Booktuber. I'll link up here the previous two, which was Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative and Michael Nip from the channel of the same name. But other than that, it's just, I mean, it's going to be the same stuff. I would anticipate, it's grown a lot since last they appeared, but I would anticipate in 2023 the reappearance of, I think I said 2022 earlier. If I did, I didn't mean to. I meant 2023. I would anticipate the return of Posh Allen.
Curse you, you cad!
And Cowboy Allen.
Oh, hold on there, Suavo.
And Suave Allen.
I'm eating this chicken wing, you British beggar.
I would imagine they would make a reappearance, as well as a couple other Allens that might be involved in the ongoing storyline against the Gatekeepers. Who knows? It's been over a year. It's been a year and a half since last they appeared, so who knows what has happened since then. My Patreon is still going to go. If you are not, like, I have a Patreon, and I don't pitch it a lot. I mean, I talk about it at the end of every video. I'm just like, hey, it's there. So if you're one of my patrons, it's because you support myself and Christina and what we do here. I don't have a ton of perks like a lot of other people with Patreons because mostly it involves just time. I don't have a lot of time to read a lot of extra books, and I generally don't get videos out really early. I mean, I have been getting them out like the night before, but it's always like late. So it's like, you know, you can watch the videos going up tomorrow at like 10 p.m. the previous night if you want, which is fine. The main draw is, you know, you have access to the council room in my Discord, which is the patrons only channel. And that's where, you know, that's where a lot of my talking and Christina's talking takes place. I would like to do more for the patrons this year, but I just can't promise that I'm always going to have a patron pick. Like, I can't be Jimmy, who reads books in like 2 days and can read like 6 patron books in a month. Like, I wish I could do that. I just freaking can't. I used to do patron hangouts on Zoom or Discord. I'm going to do that again this year. If it gets too crowded, I may have to just like limit it to like the high tier patrons like Jimmy does, just because, you know, like 50 people can't talk at the same time online. It just can't be done. Like, it's impossible. But I do have patron sprints, and like my patrons are always the first ones to know about things that go on with my life with Christina. And we're gonna have a patron readathon this year that is hopefully like PvE, like us versus the environment, or rather them versus like me and my mods. But, you know, so if you are a patron, like, thank you so much. Like, you guys are absolutely amazing, and it means so much to me and Christina that you support us. And I wish I could do more, but I'm hoping to do a little better on that this year. And so the big announcements for this year is, I have not had a read-along on my channel. Last year in February, we started The Emperor's Blades, the Chronicles of the Unhewn Throne read-along. It won a vote of 3 on my channel because democracy reigns, and it just didn't go well for many reasons. Many people did not actually enjoy the book, and I don't know if this was just because it was an echo chamber of people not enjoying it, which just like spread like the plague. And since then, I've had some half-hearted attempts to start some, and then I ran into school or just busyness and whatever. But this time, I am putting it out there, and it's going to happen. Gonna be 4, count them, 4 channel read-alongs on this channel this year. And there's gonna be one, so it's just 3, it's 4 trilogies running from, you know, January to March, and then April to June, etc., etc., etc. And so you are welcome to join into any or all of these. There will be live shows for each of them, and for each trilogy I will have a stock co-host, and then for each particular book, for each of the live shows, I will bring in other people so that there's 4 of us discussing it on a live for each book. You know, it might be the same people, it might be different people, whatever. But one of them will be constant. And so I'm really, really excited about this. I tried to pick 4 trilogies. There is no more democracy. I just picked them. I tried to pick 4 trilogies that are different, so there's something different on offer for each one of them, so you can join any or all of them, and it will be fantastic regardless. So let me tell you about that now. Here we go. Boosh! The first one is Boosh, the Cicero trilogy by Robert Harris, and the first book is Imperium. So this is historical fiction, and it may not be for everybody. That's why I put this one kind of at the beginning, because a lot of read-alongs are already planned, especially for the first 3 months of the year. So this is for people who just want something completely different, or if a bunch of people don't join, it's fine. This is a trilogy I really wanted to read this year, and this will be co-hosted by Kyle from Read by Kyle. We have buried the hatchet. We have put away our differences for our love of historical fiction. So this is set in this is about Cicero. And the reason I chose this one is because I love the Warlord Chronicles, and talking to Richard Swan, the author of Justice of Kings, his inspiration for the frame narrative that he has, where Helena is an old woman and is telling the story that she remembers, that is based on the frame narrative, Harris's frame narrative from the Cicero trilogy, where it's written by Tiro, Cicero's slave, who also invented shorthand, and he was freed upon Cicero's death, but it was really, really close with Tiro. And so this is Tiro in the future writing about his master and the trials and travails of basically 63 BC through, something out, through probably 44 BC. Maybe his death in 43. This takes place in the last century BC, around the time of, it's during the time of Caesar, and shortly after Sulla, and there's Pompey and Cato and Catiline. Cicero was involved in stopping the Catilinarian conspiracy in 63 BC, and I'm assuming that that's what these are largely about. Here is what the back of the book says if you are unfamiliar. On a cold November morning, Tiro opens the door to find a terrified, bedraggled stranger begging for help. Once a Sicilian aristocrat, the man was robbed by the corrupt Roman governor Verus, who is now trying to convict him under false pretenses and sentence him to a violent death. The man claims that only the great Senator Marcus Cicero, one of Rome's most ambitious lawyers and spellbinding orators, can bring him justice in a crooked society manipulated by the villainous governor. But for Cicero, it's a chance to prove himself worthy of absolute power. What follows is one of the most gripping courtroom dramas in history, and the beginning of a quest for political glory by a man who fought his way to the top using only his voice, defeating the most daunting figures in Roman history. So this is before the Catilinarian conspiracy, probably before this is probably him fighting his way up to consul, dealing with his first case, which his first, I think, major case, which was against Verus. So if you want to join along with this, we'll be reading the first book here, Imperium, in January, and then having a live show. Please come join us if that sounds interesting at all to you. Freaking ancient Roman courtroom drama for all you Law and Order fans. Next, from April to June, we will be reading Boosh, the Risen Kingdoms series by Curtis Cranach. And book 1 is An Alchemy of Mask and Mirrors, I think. Masks and Mirrors. Yeah, sure. So, this series was actually one of the choices in the Emperor's Blade poll, and it got second, but it did not win. And since then, many people whom I know and trust have read this and absolutely loved it. I know Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative is just adores it. And, that's enough for me. Like, it was already on the list because I wanted to read it because it's swashbuckling. There's airships, and other Three Musketeer-esque swashbuckling things. I'm hoping that this gives me a Greatcoats feel, but all I know is there's airships and politicking. And so my co-host, my permanent co-host for this series will be Anitha over at Anitha Gade, her channel. And I know she was planning on reading this series this year anyway. And Anitha and I tend to have a lot of the same taste in books. So I'm hoping, I can't imagine that I would enjoy it and she didn't, but regardless, if you are interested in this is what the back of this one says. Born with a physical disability and no magical talent, but a precocious intellect, Princess Isabelle des Zephyrs has lived her life being underestimated by her family and her kingdom. The only person who appreciates her true self is Jean-Claude, the fatherly musketeer who has guarded her since birth. All shall change, however, when an unlikely marriage proposal to the second son of a dying king and an empire collapsing into civil war is offered. But the last two women betrothed to this prince were murdered, and a sorcerer assassin is bent on making Isabel the third. Isabel and Jean-Claude plunge into a great maze of prophecy, intrigue, and betrayal where everyone wears masks of glamour and lies. Step by dangerous step, Isabel must unravel the lies of her enemies and discover a truth more perilous than any deception. So, that sounds so cool. And so we will be reading that one in April, and then, books 2 and 3 in May and June. So if that sounds interesting at all, please join us. I also forgot to mention the entire Cicero trilogy is about 1,200 pages. The entirety of this trilogy is less than 1,300, so it's 1,200, between 12 and 1,300. So these are short, relatively short books, so you know what you're getting into. Next on the list, from July to September, is Boosh, the Empire Trilogy by Janie Wirtz and Raymond Feist. So this is a trilogy that takes place as part of Feist's Rift War novels. This is the other nation on the other side of the rift in the Rift Wars. But from everything I know and everybody I've talked to, you do not actually have to have read any of the previous Rift War books to understand these books at all. It's just like extra references if you want. And everyone who has read this trilogy says it is amazing, that I've talked to. I know that Derry, who will be my permanent co-host from Derry's Read It Before, she absolutely loved this trilogy. Patrick says it's one of his favorite trilogies of all time. What drew me to this trilogy is all of the praise that's been given it, but also the praise for Janie Wirtz's writing that my friends like Philip and AP and Jimmy and Joanna have given her, but also the fact that everyone seems to love this trilogy, and the fact that it is Japanese. It's a kind of a Japanese society, this world, and it has a strong female character as the lead. So here's the description of this one. Magic and murder engulf the realm of Kelawan. Fierce warlords ignite a bitter feud to enslave the empire of Tsuranuani. While in opulent imperial courts, assassins and spy masters plot cunning and devious intrigues against the rightful heir. Now Mara, a young untested ruling lady, is called upon to lead her people in a heroic struggle for survival. But she first must rally an army of rebel warriors, form a pact with the alien Choja, and marry the son of a hated enemy. Only then can Mara face her most dangerous foe of all in his own impregnable stronghold. So, that also sounds really cool. This first book is only 400 pages. The next two books are longer. I think the whole series is about 1,800 pages, so I think the other two books are close to 700 pages. But there's no harm in jumping in and testing the waters in this 400-page book that is the first one. And as I said, Derry from Derry's Read It Before will be my permanent co-host on this particular trilogy. And then finally, because you knew it was coming, is going to be Boosh, the Engineer Trilogy by K.J. Parker, the first book being Devices and Desires. So, you guys know my love of K.J. Parker. I have spent the last basically year and a half reading all of Parker's standalones and his novellas, of which I have done. The only thing I haven't finished reading is his short story novella collections, and there's a new one coming out in March, but that's it. So we have Zara and I have spent all this time reading all this, and now we are ready to start the series, because he has like 5 trilogies, and I have not read anything with Parker trying to tell a continuous tale over that many books. And so I love his standalones. I'm eager to see what I think of his trilogies. And the trilogy that most excites us and that I want to read the most is the Engineering Trilogy, which is really my very first K.J. Parkers I ever got, were these Engineering Trilogy books, because they just sound so interesting. Now, Parker is not for everybody. I understand that. Sometimes he talks about some boring crap. So I get it. If you don't like Parker, that's fine. But if you want to try Parker, and again, most people who've tried Parker have tried 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. If you like that, you should jump on this. If you didn't like that, there's still a chance you'll like this. This whole series is about 1,600 pages or so. The first 2 are thick. This first one's 600 pages, but the last one is less than 400. I've never seen that, where the first 2 books were long and then the third one wasn't. My permanent co-host for these books will be Zara. So make sure you check out her channel as well. And I know that Evie and Charmaine also want to jump on these discussions, so that'll probably happen as well. But here's the description of Devices and Desires. When an engineer is sentenced to death for a petty transgression of guild law, he flees the city, leaving behind his wife and daughter. Forced into exile, he seeks a terrible vengeance, one that will leave a trail of death and destruction in its wake. But he will not be able to achieve this by himself. He must draw up his plans using the blood of others. This is the extraordinary tale of a man who engineers a war to be reunited with his family. That just bodes so poorly. They're always so sinister, and oh man, I don't even know how this is going to go, but it's going to go poorly. It always does. And it's over 3 books. I'm so interested to read this. So this will take place in the months of October, November, and December of next year. Please, if you wanted to start Parker, there's never a better place than with a whole bunch of people. So guys, that is it for this first video back in December since my car accident. Or since being, someone threw a car at me, or whatever. If any of those interest you, please come join us for any and all of them. Would love to have you. Thank you guys so much for all your outpouring of support and kind words for Christina and I during this difficult time. I can't wait to get, back making videos and back involved in the community, etc., etc. As always, information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys.